All right. Hey, welcome to Authentic Influence Live. This is Anthony Chansamou from Simple Creative Marketing. And today we're going to talk about the power of online courses and how do you actually create value or a valuable course that can actually help sell your knowledge and teach your audience how to actually do more of the good things that you do. Okay. And to really speak about this conversation, I wanted to bring in an expert who does this for all day, every day, who works with a bunch of clients. And really, what I really like about this particular guest is just the expansive experience that he's had in the world of education. So let me just introduce our guest for today. So Matthew Mason is the Chief Learning Architect at Superb Learning, a digital learning agency. He's a multi-award-winning learning designer with over 20 years experience designing and developing learning experiences. And his focus is on helping people leverage their expertise to create impact through superb learning experiences. He works on building designs that deliver impactful results and allow people to scale their business. Matthew has been recognized as a certified learning professional and a certified online learning facilitator. Okay, so with that, welcome Matthew to the show.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for that great introduction and welcome.
Matt, why don't we just start off with where you're actually calling in from?
So Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. So I was going to say sunny Queensland, but it's raining here today. So yeah, we're getting a bit of a reprieve from the heat at the moment. So
and that's a good thing. Same here in Sydney. We've had a bit of a hot spell, and then yesterday it's just been cats and dogs. Let's jump right into it, Matt. So we've met through the KPI or Key Person of Influence at the Dent community, and it's a community loaded with experts, right? People who have a ton of knowledge in different disciplines, and I know you're already working with some of them to help them develop their online presence or online sort of courses and whatnot. So can you just give us a bit of background, what you see is why are online courses so popular right now? Why have they become so popular in the last 5 years? I'd say 10 years, in the SMB space. But certainly, I mean, I want to hear from you. Like, what's driving this, craze, I suppose, with online courses and online education?
Yeah, look, I think there's a couple of things driving that. One of those is obviously technology and the way that technology has changed so much in the past 5-10 years. And we've got the ability to create so much more interesting and engaging experiences through the technology. If you go back, 10 years ago and, certainly have a look at a lot of the content was image-based or text-based. And certainly when we were developing content back then, we'd have to be very mindful of, okay, how much video do we include and how big is the video? Because we would be concerned that people might not have the bandwidth to display and watch videos. Now we really don't have that much of an issue with that. So that's one of the big things with that change. And then I suppose bringing that on board and the fact that people are going, oh, cool, we've got all these tools and great technology to do that. People have realized the value in, being able to put their content online and the value of that. It allows them to scale, and if you really want to think about how you can scale, then you've got to really take the knowledge that's out of your head, take all of that information that you'd probably constantly would be giving to your clients and probably doing it for every single client and actually putting into a format that is digital that they can consume anytime, anywhere. And I think that's the really big attraction with it is, yes, that we can create some content, people can consume that content. I can continue as the expert to be providing value. Don't necessarily need to be there in that same spot with that person at the same time delivering that information. So yeah, technology plus the ability to scale and be anywhere, anytime is probably some of the big things driving that.
Yeah, I really hear that, and we can. I love the fact that we can produce. We have this expertise. We can produce something locally, put it online, and reach an audience which wasn't possible maybe 10 or 20 years ago. Like you could literally have students in the US or in the UK or even in countries that are developing nations, and provided it's relevant for them. That's fantastic. Now you've spoken about some of the reasons why there's been this explosion. Now, what comes along with a growth is also a challenge, right? So now you've got this proliferation of everyone trying to get into online courses and online education. But as we spoke previously about, that presents a ton of problems as well. So what would you say are some of the common challenges that you've seen with the way that people develop courses and even some of the courses that you've either evaluated or you've tested yourself? What are common mistakes that people make with online learning?
Yeah, I think definitely some challenges, and you talk about those opportunities to be able to scale and to be able to reach into other regions, but that works against you as well. You've got other people coming in, and some of the big issues that we see is that we've got people that have gone, hey, I'm going to put together a course, and maybe they're just going to whack together a whole heap of videos, and while video is a really powerful medium, it's not necessarily the only medium. And we see that as probably being one of the big mistakes that people make, is that they're not really choosing the right medium for the method that they're delivering. And a lot of people out there that are sort of saying, hey, look, just create a course, put it out there, just video, put it out there, people will pay for it. But are they actually going to get the impact? Are they actually going to get the value that they really need? And while you might get some dollars in the short term of someone actually buying your course, is it going to be a sustainable program that people are really going to be raving about? Possibly not. And that's one of the things. And certainly we see with that as well, quite often that we talk about this mistake of this kitchen sink syndrome, where people just throw in so much information. Whereas if they just focused on a single problem and were just very ruthless in the information they provided and just provide information just to solve that single problem, then they would have a much smaller, much more concise program and would allow people to really solve that problem, as opposed to the kitchen sink syndromes that's going, okay, I'm going to teach everyone about sales and marketing, or and there's so much information and people just get overwhelmed. They don't finish the course because either it's just too big, too much for them to do, or they just get so overwhelmed that they just go, oh no, I don't understand any of this. So a couple of big things there. Yeah, too much information, but also, just too much of the wrong media.
I really like the kitchen sink analogy, and I've been guilty of that myself. You kind of think, oh, there's so much to cover, in whatever expertise or especially area that you're in, and the tendency is, more is more value, or that's the belief. And what we find is actually less can become more, because if you overwhelm people, then they end up not, like you said, they don't complete the training, they don't actually go through and actually get the takeaways that they're paying for, and then it's not a great experience for everyone involved. So I love that whole kitchen sink. I'm just visualizing the kitchen right now and going, okay, let's remove some of those pots and remove some of those things. Now you specialize in working with authors, influencers, subject matter experts. So what that's one key problem. I can see that. What other kind of challenges have your clients come to you with around, whether it's course design, whether it's the technology, whether it's even the marketing and sales of the product? So what are some of the questions that people come to you with that you help address?
Yeah, look, I think one of the big things is, and it really is a big problem for experts, because they've got so much knowledge. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day, and he's got, I've got 30 years of IP of content we've written and developed, and that's one of the big problems is, where do I start? And they get into this analysis paralysis, because they're going, well, okay, do I do this? Do I do that? And you sort of go round and round and round, and then in the end, nothing actually happens, because you just get totally stuck. So that's one of the first things, is really thinking about what is it? And it comes back to, what problem? What is a single problem? And, you might be an expert, and you might go, actually, I can solve 10 different problems, and that's great. but don't try and put all of those 10 different problems into the one course. You want to focus on one single problem. And by then thinking about that single problem, going, okay, well, what is the outcome that we're going to deliver? So we've got that problem, then what's the solution? How do we move people from pain to prize? And what does that prize look like? And then work backwards from there. So certainly that's one of the big things that we've got there. That also then helps with one of the other problems that you mentioned in terms of the sales and marketing. When we're looking at people and the issue with trying to promote and to market a course, often it comes down to this problem of, is it really speaking to the pains that they have? And so definitely having a good understanding of the users that you're designing for, understanding the pains that they have. And then when you do that, it makes your course creation so much easier, but it also, pretty much writes the copy for you when you're doing your sales and marketing. So it's really some important things to think about. The start with the end in mind, but then think about, what are the problems that people are having, and really understand the persona of your user as part of that process. Sorry, I've lost you there. Anth, you've gone very quiet.
Yeah, I was going to say, Matt, I really like what you said there about just designing for the user. And so when we're thinking about course design, how soon should we really be inviting or engaging with users or prospective students to actually help in the development of the course material?
Well, it should be something that you are doing as early as possible. Once, you really need to be talking to your audience and really understanding who you're targeting for, and understanding what the problems are. Because again, as I said, you're an expert and you go, okay, well, I can solve 10 different problems. But what's that big burning problem we've got right now? As soon as possible, go and talk to the audience, go and do market research, go and see what's happening in Facebook groups and other communities, and really understand what are the big problems that people are having. Because you might go, okay, I've got all these problems in my head, or all these solutions in my head, but you really need to talk to people as soon as possible. Talk to your target market, talk to your clients as soon as possible to understand, is this really a problem that they have? And is this really a problem they want to solve? And if it is it one that they've also got the ability to fund or to pay for you to solve that problem?
100%. And then I think that's just smart business, and really strategically thinking about not just what's the course going to look like, but also how do you actually sell and as you say, promote the course as well. Now your website is I've got it on the screen here. It's edupreneur.academy. And then from there, I'm going to share some other resources as well that you shared with us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can you just, for those who don't understand it, what is an edupreneur? What is it like?
Yeah, so Edupreneur, it's a bit of a wank term, in terms of things, but effectively what it is, if you think about an entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur generally, in the true definition of it, is someone who's out there that's making money through their business, but also having an element of social impact as part of that. And so an edupreneur is really taking that entrepreneur, but they're doing it with an educational product. So they're putting a course out there, they're putting online programs out there, they're putting training programs out there, and that is effectively their vehicle for generating income, and also their vehicle for creating that impact that they want to see in the world. So the service is really around education. So sort of bringing the two together, the education and entrepreneur, and coming up with the term of edupreneur.
Love it. Okay. And then you've also got a Discover Your Edupreneur scorecard. So you can go and discover a score. Can you just take us through, what we go, some kind of online assessment, and then what does the score actually inform you? What does that mean to the person doing the assessment?
Yeah, so basically what we've done through our own research and information that we've seen over a number of years is we've put together what we call our Blue Ocean formula, which maps out the 6 key things that we think for you to be a successful edupreneur. These are the 6 key things you really need to have in place, including having a good strategy, having client clarity, having a signature solution, having an ecosystem of experiences, having the technology and tools, and having a selling system. And really having those 6 things in place means that you're going to be able to be a successful edupreneur and live in what we call the blue ocean, where you're free of the competition and living the lifestyle that you desire. And so the scorecard that we've developed really maps out and asks you questions around each of those 6 key areas. And it will then give you a score at the end of it to say, okay, well, these are the areas where you're strong, or these are the areas where potentially you might need some help or some development. And there's a report that you get afterwards as well that explains a little bit more about each of those areas. So you can take it away and look at, okay, how can I develop myself further in those areas that I need to?
All right, I'm just putting up the scorecard on screen for everyone to see that, who's watching this either live or on the replay. So to discover your Edupreneur score, and then you talked about, you kind of went over there quite quickly. So I'd like to bring you back to those 6 different elements that you talked about in the Blue Ocean formula. So do you mind just taking us through each one of those and giving us a bit of a definition and how that all fits into the score, or how the rating works?
Yeah. So first of all, the first big thing is that solid strategy. And it's really a key thing about really understanding why am I looking at moving, leveraging my expertise through digital learning products? What is it that I want to try and do? And understanding, having an understanding of that, because it's, one of the other mistakes we often see that people do is they go, okay, well, I'm going to build an online course. And the first thing they do is they go and grab the platform. Whereas that might not necessarily work, or they grab the wrong platform but for what they actually want to try and achieve. So it's really important to have that solid strategy, to have a clear understanding of why I'm doing it, and what is that going to look like. And then we move into the client clarity, which we touched on before. And that's really about understanding the persona of the users that we're developing for. So really being clear on who they are, so that when we actually are creating content, we're creating content that's ruthlessly relevant for them. Creating content that is being delivered in a way that they want. We can go and create a course and go, hey, I'm going to put together a Facebook community as part of that course. But if your clients aren't on Facebook, or maybe you're going to go and do some other tool or technology, but yet they've got, they're technically challenged, well, it's going to fail. So it's really important to have that idea around that client clarity. Then the next piece is then having the signature solution. And when you look at these, some of the entrepreneurs out there, you look at, Daniel Priestley, Glenn Carlson, they got the KPI method. They've got a signature solution. They talk about the 5 Ps. You've got the 7 habits of highly effective people. You've got, a whole range of other signature solutions that are out there. So rather than just going, oh, I'm a leadership coach, or I'm a sales and marketing expert, if we can actually help you to create a signature solution in the first place, that then you go, okay, I am the developer of the XYZ method, or on that then elevates you and sort of goes, okay, well, this person is an expert because they've spent so much time and they've actually developed a model. But then by creating that model as well and creating that signature solution, it then really makes everything else quite streamlined, because you've got your model and basically everything else falls out from that, because everything that you're doing around your courses and things like that is focused on and running off that model. Then we're looking at the stuff around the experience ecosystem. And that is very much around looking at, well, what are those experiences that we're creating? Because, you might want to create a high ticket course, but then you might want to actually have something else there, a low ticket offer, or ebook, or an actual physical book that you've written. Could be a coaching program, just an online course. Think about what are all those other experiences that you want to be able to create and have this ecosystem of experiences. And then the last 2 is very much then about, okay, having a system. What's the system that we're going to get out there to market and sell this program? And then what are the tools and technologies that we need in place to host that learning course, host the course, the tools we need if we're going to go virtually with a virtual group coaching program? What are the tools that we need for landing pages, for CRM, all those sorts of things. So they're the sort of the 6 key pieces of what we call our blue ocean formula.
Yeah, this is fantastic, and you've just demonstrated what a signature solution looks like. We're having sort of 6 different steps there. So I'm just going to recap for those who are listening on the podcast here. So we start off with a solid strategy. We then have a client clarity. That's where we understand our personas that we're dealing with, who we're designing for. We have a signature solution, which is how you package your intellectual property. And I like to think of it as demonstrating that you have a repeatable process or a methodology that, because one of the common questions you're going to get as an expert is going to be, well, have you got a system that works time and time and again? And when you say, yes, here is my, blue ocean formula, for example, that's Matt's, then that really is a really great way to do it. And then you move on to the experience ecosystem. And this is really thinking more beyond just the one solution to one problem and looking at, well, what are the other pieces that come before they get to your course or your program, and what happens afterwards, when they complete and graduate or whatever it may be. And there's a ton of opportunity to develop, maybe you have a second course or a third course, or you maybe have we're going to talk about cohort in a moment, and maybe that fits in the picture somewhere. Okay. Then you've got your selling system, which is how do you actually attract the people who are problem aware, and how do you engage them? And then you've got your technology and tools, which is, of course, I think that's where a lot of people get caught up at the beginning. It's going to be, well, what platform I'm going to host the solution on or the course on, and they get stuck. They kind of go there, and then if you get in the world of technology, you have literally hundreds, if not thousands, of different platforms you could use. But really, you've got all these 25 years of expertise sitting in your brain that's probably more valuable than what platform you're going to use at the end of the day.
Oh, definitely is. And there's a great quote that I love, and it's if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And we see this quite often where people go and the first thing they do is they pick up the technology. They grab the tool to start with, and then what they craft is dependent on the tool, which is not the right way. You really need to be thinking about what is it I want to create first of all. Go and create that design. Go and map out what that experience or experiences are going to be. Then you go and grab the tools that you need to create that.
Fantastic, Matt. So if you're listening to this right now, or you're watching it and you're already going down that path of wanting to create or launch your next course, definitely recommend you jump over to the Edupreneur Scorecard. The link is www.edupreneurscore.com/Edupreneur. We'll link to that in the show notes, and make sure you go and complete that scorecard. It's free. You'll then have an assessment on where you are at in that process, from an expert, which is Matt and his team. And then, from there, you can then go on and develop your course or program, or you can engage Matt and his team and go through their programs and specific value-based, programs that are available there, which we'll get into in a moment. So, Matt, now, I'm just loving the framework. And so I'm a frameworks crazy person, just like you are.
Yep.
Now, let's talk about the different types of programs that people can sell or can consider developing, right? So we've kind of heard of high ticket, low ticket. These are some common, let me just take this off the screen first. Okay. Yeah. So, we've got what is high ticket, what's low ticket, and which is better.
Yeah. I mean, look, I suppose high ticket is effectively, any of those courses that you're probably selling for sort of $1,500 and upwards. And yes, when you go and look at the idea of, okay, what's better? Do I sell a $50 low ticket course, or do I sell a $5,000 high ticket course? Well, then a high ticket course is probably better because you don't have to sell as many to generate the income that you need. But it's probably a little bit harder to sell the high ticket course, and to go straight from zero to high ticket can be a bit problematic. So you probably need to look at having a low ticket offer in there as a way for people to get to know, like, and trust you. It's one of the good ways of doing that. So creating potentially a mini course, or creating an ebook, creating something that is that people are able to consume. And we see when you look at sales and marketing, we've got this sales funnel, and certainly we look at the same thing as well when we're looking at the course creation type situation and thinking about, okay, what is that interest product that I can create as part of this ecosystem of experiences? And that is, is it a mini course? Is it an ebook? It could just be, an email sequence that someone signs up for and they just get a daily email going out to them. It could be, a 5 or 7 day challenge. There's a whole range of different options there. But basically, the idea behind it is really we want to generate some interest. We want to generate interest in the problem that people have and the solution that we can provide, but also generate some interest in the brand of the company that's selling the courses. Then you can look at going into those information style products, and that's obviously where you're providing information. And then the high ticket products are very much where then we're looking at providing implementation. We're actually giving value and actually helping people to solve the problems. And obviously, as we move through that or down that funnel, the cost becomes higher, but also the time investment by the expert themselves also becomes much higher. In an interest course or information course, it's probably running 24/7. They can consume at any time. But certainly if we're looking at a high ticket course, something that's providing implementation or integration, we probably do need the expert there on a Zoom call or in a face-to-face workshop or a masterclass, providing their expertise to help with the transformation, even though they've already given a lot of that information through the digital assets.
I really like, that's a really good distinction between sort of the high ticket, low ticket. There's a place for both. And then if you think about, you talked about ecosystems previously, you can have those feeding into each other. As we see that, I guess if we look at university courses, and when I was back in my uni days, we had our prerequisite courses, and then we had our full scale. Here's the 1 semester or 2 semester program, and if you hadn't done a prerequisite, then you couldn't really go into the next one because you didn't have the foundational knowledge. And that's how I kind of do the mini course. And you've got your own mini course, which I'm going to bring up on a screen here, which is the Blue Ocean mini course. And can you give our audience a bit of an understanding of what this course is about and what they can get from completing this mini course?
Yeah. So this is basically just our free mini course, which talks about our Blue Ocean formula, which we touched on when we talked about the Edupreneur Scorecard. And it's just a number of videos of me just providing some information around each of those elements, a little bit more information about each of those elements where we talk about the solid strategy, about client clarity, and getting people to start to think about those things. So it's very much that interest-based course where we go through and get people to start to think, okay, where am I at? What do I need to do? What can I do as part of that process? So that's one of our mini courses that we've got.
I love it. And there's a couple of things I observed from looking at that particular landing page. One is you haven't gated the content, so you've left the information or the videos for anyone to click play and they can watch through each one of those lessons, and then you end up with we're giving you some value straight up front here, and then if you like what you're hearing and you want to learn more, you can book a free 45-minute chat with Matthew. That's kind of the call to action at the bottom. I like that structure, and I think it's there's a common debate in the B2B world, which is should you get your content, should you lock it behind a subscription form, these sort of things, and I think we're at where we are right now in 2022. There's an argument just to go for ungated, and certainly there's a place and a time for gated content, but I think if it's the first contact they've had with your brand, what you've done is really nice here, Matt. And I also think you could probably do a second version of this where instead of book a 45-minute call, it's go and complete our assessment or the scorecard, and maybe offer both on the bottom and let them choose their destination, I suppose. Choose your own adventure. Yeah.
No, that's a great idea. Yeah, and what you're saying about that gated or ungated information, it's really a case of coming back to the solid strategy and understanding, well, what's the purpose? And for us, this is really about providing some information, about generating some interest in our brand, in myself, get people to know me a little bit more, to know a little bit more about superb learning and what our formula is. And that's what we're providing value as part of that process. Certainly, by by wrapping it up behind passwords or gated type stuff that you talked about, can certainly impact on people getting access to that information, which is obviously then going to work against that strategy of trying to provide value.
1000%. Okay, so I've just put the link on the screen for people who are watching this replay to actually go and access that course. We'll obviously put that in the show notes as well. But definitely another great resource that Matt's put out there for you to check out. We're going to flip over to, we're going to continue the conversation on the types of courses. We just talked about low and high. And now what's a cohort-based course? And why are we hearing more about these in recent times?
Yeah, look, I mean, cohort-based courses, and this is one of the things that we do really well in learning and development and education, is that quite often we'll come up with an old concept and give it a new name, and everyone goes, wow, that's cool. Gamification was one that came around, a number of years ago, where people were going, oh, we've got to gamify everything, and it's all the latest thing. But yet I remember when I was in school and, I'd finish reading, I'd get a little gold star, which was gamification. And cohort-based courses is very much the same thing. It's something old wrapped in a new shell. But effectively, what it is it's just bringing everyone together and having everyone start and move through a program at the same time as part of a group. And the benefits of doing that, and probably, you mentioned before about university, and universities quite often, do this cohort-based courses, bring everyone together. And it's like, okay, we're going to run through this program over 6 to 12 weeks. But the benefit of it is that it allows for that social learning. And if you think about, we are social creatures and we learn from each other and with each other. And being able to add that social element into it, which is one of the big things of that cohort-based course, it helps with people moving through the course. It helps with the engagement, helps with the retention and the completion, because people get to learn from each other. It's one of the things that we've seen quite a lot, that people used to love face-to-face courses before this COVID came along. And one of the big things they loved about it was because they got to be social. They got to meet with people and they got to talk. And often in a lot of our courses that we see now that are self-paced, and I'm sitting there on my own, I'm not able to be social. Even in some of the virtual sessions, I can see a lot of other people, but I don't really get to communicate with them. Whereas a cohort-based course is really bringing together and really emphasizing that social element of it. Also bringing in elements of accountability. We're seeing different reports, different research that you look at, saying that the completion rates for courses is as low as 4%. I've seen others that are sort of saying 11%, 15%. But even if it was 15%, that's still pretty terrible. To have only 15% of your people complete a course is not really going to be providing the impact that you want. And a cohort-based course allows you to really bring in that accountability. And we're certainly seeing for those courses that are driven in that way, much higher completion rates, with rates of 70, 75, 80% completion rates, because people are much more engaged, because they're part of a community. There's a social element. They're learning from and with each other. They're having interactions with their facilitator, their trainer, the expert. But then there's also that level of accountability. So bringing these cohort-based courses together is a really good way of really making sure that everyone gets the impact that they need and that people are completing, and we're getting some great results as part of that.
I agree with you 100%. Like, what's the point of putting all this time and energy into developing something which is going to make an impact somewhere, but because the participants are not feeling, maybe they're doing it DIY and they're doing it from home, and the kids are coming, knocking on the door every 5 minutes so that they get distracted, or other things come up and they just say, I'll come back to it, and it never happens. And it's just having a cohort can bring in that additional accountability that they need. It can bring in that additional, for some people, it's just like, I want to be able, what I like about being at uni is I could walk up to my lecturer or my tutor and say, hey, I've got this question, can you help me solve it?
Yep.
And for whatever reason, we're not we don't feel as comfortable doing that when we're doing courses online or at home. It's just we don't feel there's something missing in that engagement that you can get when you're in a cohort. And even if you're in a cohort, you can ask your buddy, sitting next to you who's doing the course with you, if you can't ask the instructor, right? So there's I think there's those elements that we can't avoid, right? Like that's something that we've got to take into account. Any thoughts or anything you want to add to that, Matt?
Yeah. I think that's the big thing, isn't it? It's like, okay, I've still got a problem. I don't know how to address it. Okay, and you've got this network of people to help you with that. And again, we learn in different ways. Some people might hear something and then they need to go away and think about it for a bit, but other people might want to talk about it with their community and their friends. And the cohort-based course really gives them that opportunity to do that. But also as well, that just people having to go through a program on their own without the accountability, then it's a bit like, setting New Year's resolutions and they never really happen. And, there's a whole lot of research again around goal setting and the benefits of setting goals and having being accountable or having some accountability there with that. We just don't complete it. The amount of courses that people sign up for with the greatest of intentions that don't actually complete. And one of the reasons for that is because, yes, they get distracted. They're not held accountable. And other things take over and it just falls away. So, yeah.
Yeah. We're going to wrap up soon. I just wanted to, you've shared a lot of great information here and insights into sort of where we should start thinking about courses. Now, what would you say would be, someone's listening to this or watching this, Matt, and they're saying, okay, look, love the whole concept. I love the 6 different steps that you've laid out here. What is the first, step from here? If someone's wanting to leverage their expertise with online courses, what would you say, what would be the first thing they do or walk away with from here?
Yeah, well, I think just going back to our Blue Ocean formula, and the first thing is working out why do you want to do that. Okay. Now, talking to someone the other day, they're moving towards retirement. They've got a whole lot of knowledge and IP, and they want to put together a program that people can consume, that they still have, that they're still providing value. But they don't, because they're moving into retirement, they don't want to be running a masterclass or cohort-based courses. And effectively what they'll be putting together would be a whole heap of, information-based courses that people can consume and get the knowledge. And that's fine. That's great. Someone else might go, hey, I want to create a course because I want to be part of a masterclass, or I want to create a cohort-based course and I want to really be involved and I want to really drive impact. So it comes back to getting that strategy right first, because they're going to be two different beasts in a way. What you're creating and how you create them are going to be quite different. So understanding why you want to do that. And then coming back to that client clarity, coming back to understanding what is the problem that you're solving. And also thinking about, we talk about when we're building a course, thinking about, is it a painkiller or a vitamin course? Is it a course that is really going to be solving a pain for people right now? Or is it more of a nice to have type course? Someone might go, oh yeah, I'd love to learn how to crochet. I don't really need to know how to do knitting or how to crochet or anything like that, but it's something I'd like to do. And so that would be a vitamin course that would, people might go and consume. But then think about, okay, well, is it more of a painkiller course that's really solving a problem? So that would be the first thing, is really understanding why you're doing it. There's no point moving down the path if there's no passion there for it. And if you're not doing it in the right way, then it's all going to fall apart. And then understanding clients is part of that piece.
Yeah, there's really nothing as powerful as, you have an idea or ideas that you might brainstorm for potential courses that you could create based on what you know and what you've learned and your expertise. But then to really validate, hey, someone gonna actually want this thing. We'll circle back to what we talked about earlier, Matt. Is go and approach 10 people or even 5 people that who might be interested in that particular thing you want to develop, and say, hey, would you buy this? Is this a problem that you want solved? I've seen some people put a quick landing page or even just a Google form or something simple where, hey, put your deposit down or sign up for a waiting list and express your interest. Because if you're not getting that feedback, it's gonna. I've made the mistake before, Matt, where I've sat down over like 24 hours with my old co-founder. We punched out this course, 10 or 12 videos recorded overnight, and struggled to sell it. Because we thought it was great, being we had the expertise, but the people who we thought would want it, the feedback was very different. They just said, you know what, it's just too technical, not what we want. But what we really want is this thing, and that's we wish we had gone the other way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it is. It's very much understand the users. Is it a problem? But also, is it a problem they're going to afford? I saw an example of someone who wanted to put together a course that was going to help unemployed people. We're going to help them with writing resumes and help them with interview skills to help them to get a job. Really great, huge impact that's going to provide if it was to, if those people were able to, get out of that unemployment status and, get some, get a job and have some feel good about all of that. The issue was that the price that they were going to package that course at wasn't going to be something that the people that needed it were going to be able to afford. So that's the other piece, is not just a case of, is it a problem that can be solved, but is it a problem that people are willing to or able to afford or pay for as part of your, as part of what you're offering.
Great things to think about. We're going to wrap up with, I've got a couple of final questions for you, but I want to bring to the screen right now. You've got your own cohort based trainings available, and one of those is the Signature Solution Accelerator. Which is on Edupreneur.academy. Again, we'll link to all of these resources, so don't worry about the links too much. But take us through what this particular cohort-based course is about, and what people can expect to get out of going through that with you.
Yeah, so this is a 12-week program that we've put together, but really takes you through all of the things that we've just been talking about as part of our Blue Ocean formula, taking you through, understanding what is the strategy, why you're doing it, helping you build, nail your niche, get some understanding around the clients that you're doing. We then take you through a process where we're using a model, the Think Wrap system, developed by a friend of ours, Renee Hasseldine's developed the Think Wrap system. And that part of that is we then help you to create these visual models, which really form the foundation of your signature solution. And from that, we go through, map out that ecosystem of experiences, and then look at, okay, well, what does that look like? What are those ecosystems? Design the detail around that. And part, as you can see there, we go through that steps of generating the desire, where we go and look and can we launch some sort of minimal viable product, as you talked about before, putting a landing page up there, getting people to actually put their hand up and say, yes, I'm interested in this, which gives us that idea of going, okay, we're now going to move forward. Now we're going to start to look at creating the assets. That's one of the things probably takes the most time, building the assets, whether that be recording the videos, creating presentations, creating, interactive e-learning objects, whatever it might be. That's where all the time and effort comes in. And certainly we help people to do that. We can show them some of the tools and templates that we've used for building that as we go through. But certainly you want to get people to put their hand up first and say, yes, this is what I'm interested in. Then we take you through, help you to set up some of the systems, and then, help you go through and basically deploy and deliver. We've got some stuff there after that delivery piece as well to then look at, okay, how do you actually do a bit of debrief as part of that piece as well? Once you've actually deployed it for the first time, go and do a debrief and find out what are the results, what needs tweaking, because it's not just a case of building a course and going, I've built the course, there you go, let it run. It's this constant reiteration, constantly looking at the course and going, right, what can I make better? And there's a image you can Google. If you go and Google the Simpsons cartoon from when they were first developed, to now. And there's an image you can find on Google that has the Simpsons family when they first came on screen to where they are now, and you just look at the differences in the drawing of them. Chalk and cheese, completely different. And effectively, your course should be the same after you've developed it. And you have a look at your course 3 years or 5 years down the track. It should be a completely different course, because once you've done that deploy and you've done that debrief, your clients are then telling you, your students telling you, okay, right, I need more information about this, or I can improve this asset, or I can, there's a whole lot of different things. And so you're continually tweaking it. So it's not just a case of build it. They'll come and we're just going to let them consume it. You want to keep building it, keep changing it, improving it.
Absolutely. And courses are like books or like any other assets that they develop and you evolve them over time. Obviously, in your industry, whatever you're an expert in, things will change, right? So you got to keep it relevant, and it makes sense.
It, But a course is much easier to update than a book.
100%.
So, yeah.
All right. So if you're interested in the Accelerator, again, we'll link to all of these in our show notes. You can hit up Matt and jump on a call with him and have a chat, see if it's right for you. There are 3 different options on how to go about the signature solution packages. And I'll leave it to Matt to explain all of that to you. Matt, I just really, when we first had a chat, just resonated with your approach, what you're teaching, and our listeners can hear. I have already heard just so much great gold here around what you need to really think about and consider when you're developing a course that's going to be successful, right? There's one thing to just go out there and launch a course tomorrow, but to have the impact that you want, to have the revenue that you're looking for, to have the, all those good things, have the students go away and say, hey, we've done this course with this expert and we're recommending it because it was such a fantastic experience. That itself, you've got something great when that's happening, right?
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's if you think about most people that are out there, and so many of the experts, we talked about, the KPI community, for example, full of experts and full of so many people that are out there and just wanting to help other people. And that's the thing. And you want to help people. You want to help people improve. You want to help people have impact in their lives. And a course is a great way of doing it. But yes, it needs to be one that is going to be impactful, not just, something that people are going to go and not actually get results from. So definitely thinking about what is the impact you're going to provide. And to think about, yes, all those stories later on of people saying, yes, I did this course, I did this program, masterclass, whatever it might have been. And now this is where I'm at. And this is the success I've had as a result of it.
1,000%. And, I'd be remiss to not mention the power of case studies when you're dealing with online courses. And we just talked to Matt, just said, in his words, but when you have those case studies of successful students or graduates going through your course or your program, that really is a healthy and a powerful way to sell more of that course. Okay, so
definitely, yes. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to say, look, we've got 2 final questions for you. But the first one is there a particular book, podcast, or resource that you would say is essential for learning more? For anyone who's wanting to get into this world of becoming an edupreneur, what's been a resource that you would recommend that they go check out?
Oh yeah, look, there's a whole range of different ones, but certainly there's a great podcast put together. Jeremy Deegan in the US called the Online Course Igniter podcast. He's got a whole range of great people on there that talk about a whole range of things. That's a great podcast to get into. But I would also look, then there's also some great books. There was a book put out by the name of Julie Dirksen. It was around, design for how people learn, which is a book put together for learning designers, but still something that anyone that's building a course should be looking at, and really understanding the concept of how the brain works and how we should be designing to actually engage with people. And that's a great book. And there's a number of other really good books in that space. If you're looking at moving into that, creating content that you want to actually create impact and have results.
Fantastic. Okay, and final question for you. We're very big on mental health and making sure you look after yourself as you're going through this journey as an entrepreneur or edupreneur. So what's one thing that you like to do, Matt, for your own mental health and well-being?
For me, it's getting out on the water. I like kayaking or I've got my ski. But certainly, that's one of the things I like doing. Get out in the morning if I can, if I wake up in time, take the ski down the creek, down the river, and just go for a paddle up the creek for a while. That for me is a good way. Just switch off, just focusing on my technique, focusing on trying to get up the creek and back as quickly as I can, and it helps to build some strength and fitness as well. But that to me is a big thing for me, is that just complete sort of switch off from everything else that I'm thinking about.
Love it. Nothing like being present on the water. And if you're not, you could fall off and probably hurt yourself. So that's a good thing.
Well, that's the other thing. That's the big thing as well. Yeah, you've got to be focused because, like, my ski is not so bad, but my daughter's in a very thin and small tippy K1.
Right.
We're not talking the sort of wide plastic kayaks. She's in something that's probably about 42 centimeters wide. You've got to be pretty present. If you switch off or anything, chances are that you're sort of doing a biathlon. It's sort of a bit of a swim as well as a paddle. So
That's my nightmare right there, mate. Fantastic. It's been a great experience having you on the show today. And for everyone listening, thanks for joining us. Again, if you want to connect with Matt, I'd say what would be the first step? Would you say go to the Scorecard or the mini course or what?
Probably jump onto the Scorecard. Have a look at that. I think in the Scorecard, once you do the Scorecard, there's a report. Probably also link you back to some of the stuff that we've got in the mini course. But that certainly gives you a great indication there to see, okay, well, where are the areas that I'm strong, and where are the areas that I do need some development. And then once you've done that, then you can go, okay, right, well, these are the areas of development that I need to focus on. And then you can start to look at, well, where do I get that? Whether you want to come and talk to me, we can certainly look at how we can help you, or other, there's other courses out there, other programs. But certainly that would be one of the first places to go. Do the Scorecard, see how you measure up. It's also hopefully going to get you start thinking about a few things as well as we go through and ask you some of those questions as part of the Scorecard.
Fantastic. All right. So the URL there is edupreneurScore.com/edupreneur. We'll link to that in the show notes, and definitely recommend you go and check that out. Complete the Scorecard, get an assessment, understand where you're at. The best place to start is to know where you're at right now, and then where your gaps are, and Matt and his team can help you fill some of those gaps. Thanks again, Matt, for joining us today, and we'll check in with you real soon.
Yep. No, great. Look, thank you very much for having me on. It's been great, and look forward to catching some of the other upcoming experts. I saw that you've, I think Taiki Moore's coming up, which is going to be a great one to look into. I'll be really keen to listen into what he's got to say there. But certainly some other great experts. So really looking forward to show. It's great.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks, Matt, and thanks everyone else for listening, and we'll see you real soon.